What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. What a wild past few days that we have had for Bitcoin. So we had this breakout right here. It was in fact a failed breakout, but nevertheless right here you could see we have sprung back and we are trying to push back above this right here, this resistance yet again. Now, why is this happening? Is it just simply happening because we are due for this bounce? Well, that is one thing. You can see right here, we are trying to pump as I'm making this video, but if you didn't hear the news that came out, and this actually hit the US Eastern time at around 6 o'clock this morning, we were all sleeping. So basically, we had the Bank of England coming out with a bit of a shocking news piece, right? Basically saying that they are going to be buying back bonds and things of that nature, which means maybe they're feeling the pressure. They're saying they need to do whatever they have to do, right? And they are very concerned about the collapse of the financial stability, essentially, of the system, right? Does that mean that the US is going to follow suit? Are we going to see Powell and friends folding, right? Should we be calling their bluff right now? Well, that is sort of the big question that we need to talk about. Could this be a precursor of what is to come? And has the worst actually been behind us? Or are markets not pricing in something that could be a lot worse? Well, right now we are seeing a rebound right now. We have a lot of stuff to go over today. I do want to jump back into the charts today and let you know that we saw something very interesting happen yesterday, which is giving me a little bit of mixed signals. I want to share this with you. It could be positive. Of course, we need to take everything with a grain of salt, but you're definitely going to want to stick around to the end of this video. We have a lot of content to cover. So if you do like these kinds of videos, slap a like, definitely get subscribed if you're not. Pleasure to see you here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Without further ado, my friends, let's dive into the actual charts. So as we can see right here, what is very interesting about this fake out that we had is you see, and usually you don't really extend the lines out like this, right? Usually you just kind of make the pattern and that's it. But interestingly enough, if you just extend these two lines out, you will see that there is a confluence right here. We're coming down, right? We have this sort of resistance. Boom. We come down. It acts as support. We did, in fact, close that 4-hour candle above it. And not only that, we were able to break back above this resistance right here. Currently, you could see, that resistance. And currently, you could see that we are sitting at this level trying to push above it. So could this have just been some crazy market fake out? And we are, in fact, going to have that breakout to the upside like I was talking about 3 days ago? Was this just a little trap just to shake investors, get them off their sides? It could be, guys. Look at this candle right now. Look at what we're trying to do. So trying to make this live, it's very interesting to see the pump happening live. But as you guys can see right here, it's actually pretty exciting doing this live. You can see right here that we are in fact retesting this very critical level. And remember, the reason that this level is so important is because if we drag it all the way back here, we had this pivot right here, and we also had the top of this level. And I didn't mean to call it a pivot, I meant to call it a resistance, right? But you could see once we broke above that, it was pretty much blue skies for Bitcoin, right? Now, I do know that obviously the macro situation was in fact a little bit different back then. But the interesting thing, as we've seen here, right, is we were putting in this bear flag, and as expected, we fell, right? Come up a little bit higher, right? We were putting in this little mini bear flag right here, right? As expected, it was a bearish pattern. We fell. But look at what we did here. We put in the same exact pattern, except this time we didn't really hard fall to the bottom. Instead, we actually just kind of came down here and retested this bottom area where we had this capitulation. Now, look, I know a lot of people are saying that the bottom is not in, and that is a possibility. There is a very strong possibility that the bottom is not in. However, right here was where we said we saw a potential capitulation wick, and this was all the way back on June 18th. And, how many days later is this still right now? From here to here, you're talking 102 days now. We've been in this range, and yet we have still yet to form a lower low. This is showing that even though, yes, it is scary right now, that you can argue we are forming a descending triangle, and that is technically a bit of a bearish pattern on this sort of lower mid time frame. You can also say that it's pretty incredible that every single time we come down to this level, we are getting bought up. So someone somewhere is seeing this as an opportunity for buying, even though, yes, we did see whales selling into this candle yesterday. At the same time, we're also seeing a lot of buying down in these levels. Someone somewhere, I don't know who these people are, think that Bitcoin between the price of 17,600 and 19,500 is a phenomenal opportunity. There is somebody clearly buying at these levels. Now, I know we could go into whale games and all different types of manipulation, but ultimately what you want to see is us break this level, again, like we attempted to do it yesterday, close above it, get the confirmation, and then if that's the case, we are still in fact trending upwards. Look, we have not lost this upward sloping trend just yet. We are still putting in daily candles, putting in higher lows. Now, I know you could say, well, we had a lower low here. Yes, that's true. But also keep in mind that if we zoom out, what we're seeing here is something of a potential double bottom. And I don't want to come at you with the doom and gloom today. There's so much doom and gloom everywhere. I just want to show you some very interesting things that are going on right now. Hopefully you will find some value out of this, right? So once again, got to break above this level right here, break above that previous all-time high. And as you can see, getting above this downward sloping resistance would be a massive, massive breakout opportunity for Bitcoin. That level currently sits at around $22,100, which I still believe is a possible short-term target, right? I don't think we're just going to dump from here. We could do that, but after having a landslide like this, right? What was this move right here from top to bottom? I'm just going to throw this out here, right? That was a 61% drop, and yet what are we actually sitting from those highs? 61% drop, 9% up. I just don't think that's enough of a rally. Even if we're going to continue to the downside and we are going to see lower lows, I still would think that Bitcoin would come up minimally to the heartline of this falling wedge pattern, which, by the way, is a bullish pattern, a long-term bullish pattern, meaning, when we do have the breakout, whether it's beginning of next year, end of next year, who knows? It is going to be massive. Even if we come down to these levels, this breakout and the fact that we've been consolidating all the way back here since around February of 2021, you're talking about a massive, massive, massive bull run that will happen once we have this. We're nowhere near that yet, but I just wanted to point that out, right? So this is what we need to pay attention to. And obviously, if you guys are looking to trade, do make sure that you check out the tutorial popping up above. There are $16,000+ in bonuses below, exclusively to Crypto Zombie subscribers. Make sure that you get that opportunity, especially in these bear market times, right? And also get subscribed. We're going to be going over these. Yesterday, we made two update videos because the markets were absolutely crazy. Now, before we get in, I'm going to do a little more charting, but look at this right here. So, you're hearing, oh, we have not had capitulation yet. Well, we have seen a lot of capitulation, actually. We have seen the collapse of Three Arrows Capital, of, Luna, even though recently they've been pumping, but let's be honest, it's nothing near the price of what it was before it fell, right? You could see right here, the Celsius debacle. FTX U.S. President Brett Harrison and Celsius CEO Alex Mashinsky have both resigned. Harrison claimed he was stepping down to prepare for incoming larger market participants, while Mashinsky apologized for being a distraction in Celsius bankruptcy proceedings. Market volatility has wiped out many prominent industry figures, including the wanted Terra co-founder Do Kwon and the infamous Three Arrows Capital duo Su Zhu and Kyle Davies. Also, not to mention the fact that MicroStrategy co-founder Michael Saylor recently changed his position from CEO to executive chairman. So I'm not saying that Michael Saylor stepping down from CEO to, executive chairman is capitulation. He said he wanted to focus more on other things like Bitcoin, but these are things that you see in capitulation times, right? You see these companies going under. You see these people getting liquidated. You see these CEOs resigning, stepping down. These are all signs of capitulation. And I know that, face value, you would take that as something totally negative, but this is what you want to, you don't really want to see it because it sucks to see it while it's happening, but this is capitulation. This is crypto winter, right? This is when things get really bad. And if you're watching this video right now, you are in the midst of all of this, and these are the times that legends are born. These are those opportunities. Now, of course, like I said, we could go lower, but what I am saying is that considering we were almost at $70,000 and we're currently trading at around 19,300, 400, 500 today, depending on what time you watch this video, I would say that if you don't own any Bitcoin and you haven't bought any Bitcoin, not financial advice, how is this not a buying opportunity of a lifetime? Sure, it could go lower, but considering opportunities in the past, this is definitely one of those chances that you'd want to scoop up, right? Having a look right here, just to point this out, guys, I've been talking about the 89 EMA on the monthly. I talked about how we had support down here on the COVID crash, and we are now holding above this for 4 months. Now, even though this is not my ultimate target for the end of the month, I would like to see Bitcoin close back above the 2017 all-time high. We have 2 days left in this month. Anything can happen in the next 2 days. If we get a candle closing monthly above that previous all-time high, I think that is very bullish short-term for Bitcoin. I'm not going to, be overly bullish, but it is bullish. It's showing resilience. And you can see right here, this is where all these buyers keep stepping in, right? So we would want to see holding ultimately above 18,230, which I think it would have to just be like a catastrophic event in the next 2 days that somehow we fall below this level. But that is what we want to look for as far as strength is concerned. The other thing I wanted to point out is that this, we know Bitcoin is correlated with the S&P. The S&P is virtually kissing, about to touch its 200 weekly. And, we could see that generally when it stays above it, when it breaks above it, it tends to stay above it for a very long time. I mean, even the COVID crash only could stay below this, for just a few weeks before we did have that V-shaped recovery. V-shaped recoveries are also really what you want to look for in these charts. Let me get these drawings off. Sorry about that, guys. But ultimately, if I zoom into the daily, ignore this line, it just moved, you could see that we are attempting to have a rebound candle. Now, anything could change by the end of the day. Now, why is this happening? Well, we're going to get into that in just a bit. You could see, however, that Bitcoin is sitting below its 200 weekly. So for Bitcoin to close back into the not technically a bear market in Bitcoin standard, even though typically it's 20% down, but Bitcoin can do a 20% move in a day, right? That level is around 23,500. So, I mean, these are just sort of the levels of how bullish the close could be, right? Obviously, the first level, I just want to reiterate for you guys, holding above 18,230 on the 89 EMA, that's the first thing that we need to do in the next 2 days. It looks like based on the chart right now, we could actually do that. The second thing that we'd want to do is close above the previous all-time high, which is literally where we're basically sitting right now. How crazy is that? I mean, you can see the markets are sitting right on that previous level. So closing above that by the end of the month would also be very bullish. And of course, the most bullish case scenario, which I don't think is going to happen in 2 days, but it would be nice if it did, would be to close above the 200 weekly at around 23,475. Those are the three levels of bullishness, right? Closing above 89, nice in the short term, right? Closing above the all-time high, things looking a little bit better in the midterm. Closing above the weekly average around 23,474, super bullish, okay? Moving to the mid to the long term potentially, right? We got to take these as baby steps, but even though things do look dire, it sounds terrible, you have to just take it day by day, right? And you are noticing that on the weekly, we are having a little bit of a drawdown on the DXY, which is a little bit interesting considering the news that came out. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is it. The Bank of England is the latest central bank to capitulate to Banana Republic status by printing during an inflation spike. More to follow. More will follow, right? So what does this mean? Well, this is very interesting. So we obviously have seen different countries trying to tackle inflation, trying to deal with this financial situation that's happening. Right here, the Bank of England said that it would buy UK government debt, quote, on whatever scale is necessary in an emergency intervention to halt a bond market crash that it warned could threaten financial stability. Now, they're saying this isn't going to cause inflation. Or won't allow it to continue. Let's be honest. We know how these things work, right? Investors have been dumping the pound and the UK bonds since the government of the new Prime Minister Liz Truss on Friday unveiled a huge package of tax cuts and increased borrowing aimed at getting the economy moving and protecting households and businesses from sky-high energy bills this winter. Now, what is the issue with this? Well, markets are afraid that the plan is going to actually end up driving up inflation, forcing the Bank of England to push interest rates even higher as to around 6% next spring from only a current 2.25%. Mortgage markets have been in turmoil all week as lenders have struggled to price their loans. Hundreds of products have been withdrawn. The Bank of England is worried that markets could seize up and that the economy, which it believes has already entered a recession, would suffer even worse damage. To prevent that from happening, the central bank said it would buy long-dated UK government bonds until October 1st on whatever scale is necessary. Now, you would think that if this does start to, weaken their situation and, inflation goes up over in the UK, because the DXY is technically tied to this basket, then maybe we actually will see the DXY continue higher, right? This is one of those double-edged swords, but it is a precursor or a potential precursor to what could be happening. How long will Powell and friends really continue to do what they're doing? Well, they said, more pain to come. They're willing to send us into a recession. They don't care. Doesn't matter, right? They just want to get inflation down, and everybody's believing them. We're believing this, right? We're believing that the Fed is actually going to stick true to their plan this time. Although, when does the Fed ever stick true to their plan? But guys, this time is different. This time, the Fed is just not going to back down. There's nothing that they can do about it, right? there was this very interesting article, very long. I mean, there's so much stuff in here, so many charts. I'm not going to go into all of it. I'm just going to skim the surface. This was over on Zero Hedge. And basically they talk about calling the Fed's bluff. They are holding a losing hand. They say so far the Fed has defined the skeptics, stuck to its guns, and pressed forward despite the hawkish stance. We can actually still be sure that the Fed is bluffing. Like I said, there's a lot of data in here. I'm not going to go into all this. The video would be so long if I read and showed you every chart here. But these are some of the highlights of this. So I'm going to read this, and you guys, you can see the chart right here, pretty obvious. You can see this is the last Fed pivot, and you can see what's happening, right? Or what will projected happen if they continue, right? That's a pretty scary looking line, right? Let's talk about it. So they say even by the most conservative cases, which is about 3.5%, shows that debt gets unruly in a hurry. Under this scenario, the Treasury is paying $600 billion a year in interest by January 2024. This is more than double the interest expense as recently as February of this year. Yes, double. And this is the scenario in which the Fed, and this is the scenario if the Fed were to stop raising rates right now. Right now, this is what it would look like. By the end of the year, they anticipate rates at about 4.4%, possibly even up to 5% leading into next year. He says, let's actually create this scenario. 4% in November, 4.4% in December, 5% in March for a full year, then slowly lower rates in mid-2024 back to 2025. This is what the Fed is forecasting. Note how the next few months look relative to the last 20 years. This is not just a little extra strain on the economy. By January of next year, the Treasury will be hemorrhaging $740 billion in interest. That's almost $500 billion more than the Treasury was paying in 2021. $500 billion a year more in interest in 15 months. Remember when people freaked out about sending Ukraine $40 billion? Well, guess what? This number is 12 times higher. The Fed is moving much faster this time, but the data is still on a lag. It's going to take time for the Fed to notice when they have actually broken something, right? So this talks about when they were raising rates around 2018, but they were doing it very slowly. They did it. They would sit back. They would wait and see how it affected the economy, right? We know that all of these indicators are lagging, right? Everything that they're doing right now is going to end up affecting us 3 to 6 months out, right? That's usually how it works, give or take. There's always that lag in the trickle down into the economy. They're not really taking time. They're not really seeing what it's doing. They're just raising rates, higher and higher and higher. You know, we're going to cause pain. We're going to stop inflation. We don't care if there's a recession. Is that really what they're going to do? Is that really possible? The Treasury is paying $1.17 trillion per year just on interest by 2025. If that's the case, that's about $900 billion a year more than we were paying last year, or in other words, 4 times higher. This is a runaway freight train that will decimate the federal budget, not to mention the entire economy. But don't worry, the Fed is committed and will do whatever it takes to get inflation back to 2%. Yeah, okay. What happens when we start to see earnings come down? What happens when we start to see unemployment go up? What happens when no one's making money anywhere because no one's borrowing any money? They're afraid to invest in stocks and things of that nature. Now there is no capital gains. People are becoming unemployed. How do they make their money? Taxes. Well, you can't tax me if I'm unemployed. You can't tax me if I didn't make any gains. And on top of that, you're also having the Treasury paying 4 times higher than what we did in 2021. No, it's fine, guys. It's fine. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. The Fed, they got our backs. It's going to work out this time. You have to think about this logically, right? And then they say, not only is the debt spiral currently underway, this massive list, I'm not going to go into all this, but look at some of these possibilities. The markets right now are only pricing in, and this is sort of like the negative side of things. This is like, I guess, the little doom and gloom part of the video. The fact that we are seeing the markets falling as hard as they are, really only pricing in interest rate raises, right? We're not pricing in, falling liquidity in the bond market, recession causing tax revenues to fall. Oh, I actually did just say that. If the recession gets worse, if China invades Taiwan, corporate bankruptcy, sell-offs, housing market falling, completely lopsided long dollar trade unveils, inflation doesn't come down, Congress responds to any of these possibilities with more spending. What if debt exceeds $1.2 trillion a year? All these different possibilities that could be happening right now, the situation with Russia, right? All of these different factors, and yet they're going to just keep adding more fuel to the fire, right? And I get what they're trying to do. I totally understand it. Monetary policy, there's really only so many things you could do, right? You can tighten, you can ease. It's pretty much all you could do. I'm probably oversimplifying it, but let's be honest. I mean, everybody literally, every time the FOMC, has a meeting, what do? We all just sit there and watch our TVs and wait for an old man to get up on stage and basically just give us a number, right? I mean, that's how I'm taking it. Maybe there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Doesn't really seem like it. So they say there's absolutely no way the Fed will sit by and continue raising rates, but somehow the Fed has the market convinced that they're in control and will not pivot too early. The Fed has bluffed as hard as they possibly can. They've thrown the entire currency market into chaos. Even if they don't care about foreign currencies or the economy, they cannot escape the laws of math. They have less than 6 months, 12 months top. Either they pivot or the Treasury enters a debt spiral and the economy follows suit. And we've talked about the debt spiral multiple times. We actually did several videos on the debt spiral a few months ago, if you guys remember. This is something very, very serious. And although right now we obviously have Bitcoin not really acting as the inflation, well, actually it did act as an inflation hedge if you really think about it. While we were printing all that money, it was the best hedge against the inflation, but currently they are trying to fight it right now. But I can guarantee you, and I shouldn't guarantee anything because what do I know? I'm just a guy on the internet. But when you look at Bitcoin and you realize how people are starting to understand it bit by bit, day by day, only being 13 years old, this is a very, very young asset, but you are slowly seeing the world realize why Bitcoin is in fact the place that you want to be. Unfortunately, we are early. People say that you're not early. We're early, guys. Trust me. We may not be early in the sense that you and I didn't get to buy Bitcoin at $1, $5, $100, right? So maybe we're not early in that sense. But in the sense of global adoption, no, there are still so much more cash flow that can come into crypto. It's insane, right? We've gone into those all the money in the world charts, right? And it's like just this giant page of just all these different types of, derivatives and global real estate and debt and all this other stuff. And then Bitcoin is like this tiny little square at the top. It's so small. And, you just have to understand that it will come out on top. Once this situation shakes itself out, what are they going to end up doing? Try to make a world reserve currency, try to create that basket of currencies. You're seeing them say that they don't need the dollar. They're going to ditch the dollar. Even Russia said that they would accept Bitcoin, which is crazy, right? I can't believe they said that. They did. So times are in fact changing. Bitcoin is not changing. Bitcoin is math. It is proof of work. Don't trust, verify, right? Non-confiscatable. It can't be controlled by an entity. I mean, they can try to put parameters on it. They can cut the off-ramps off, but they literally cannot stop the protocol from doing what it is designed to do. And I think as the years go by, as the decades go by, it is only going to strengthen the narrative for Bitcoin. And if you don't believe that, then not really sure why you're watching the Crypto Zombie channel, because I think it's pretty obvious that I make these videos because of my belief in this space, in the future of Bitcoin and DeFi and blockchain, and yes, even NFTs, although I don't agree on all the use cases of NFTs, but I think they do have a very good use case in society moving forward. Deeds, lands, titles, marriage certificates, percentage ownership of buildings, right? Those are all realistic things, and I don't think blockchain is going anywhere. In fact, just to end on a positive story, despite many jurisdictions and financial regulators taking a skeptical approach to the cryptocurrency sector, there are those who believe that it's already permanently changed the world and that it is the future of finance, right? You can see one of them is the state minister for AI, digital economy, remote work applications in the UAE, Omar bin Sultan Al Alama, who has expressed optimism in terms of crypto's future. The future of digital currencies lies firmly within the mainstream financial system, where they can make an enormous difference to several problems in such areas as payments, banking, and investing. To make such a future reality, Omar bin Sultan Al Alama believes that more breathing room needs to be given to those at the forefront of pushing new technologies, while ensuring the necessary regulations that protect consumers and the financial system and prevent criminal enterprises are in place, right? And we've already seen that the US is not trying to ban Bitcoin. They're not trying to get rid of it. It's not really seen necessarily as a threat. Even if they did have a central bank digital currency, Bitcoin is more akin to a digital gold, limited supply, hard sound, right? It's not trying to compete with fiat. It's not trying to compete with the dollar. If anything, it's trying to compete with gold. It's trying to compete as a store of value, right? I do believe that the future is bright. And, having a look right here, we are, look at this. Do you see how we're just sitting there? Do you see how significant this is? So if we do get rejected, just going to point out again for everyone that stayed to the end of the video, then that would bring us back down here to around $18,000, even with the next lowest point being 17,634. Now, we could still put in that giant double bottom, even if we retested down here, or we saw the fake out that happened in, the first bear market that Bitcoin ever had, where we did have that one little candle that actually did fall lower, even after the bottom was in, but that candle closed higher, right? All possibilities, keep our eyes on it. Nevertheless, guys, you can see right here, zooming in right here, we are in fact putting in higher lows, right? We've put in higher lows. We have higher low, higher low. Actually, you know what? I'm curious to check this candle. This is actually just over on the KuCoin chart. Let's see. So this was a low of 18,349, and this was a low of 18,464. So even these tail wicks are moving higher. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I didn't want to do a doom and gloom video today, even though there are hints of doom and gloom in what's happening, in the sense that, like, for example, if the Bank of England does go through with this and then they end up screwing it up more and then they have to raise rates even higher and then it gets even worse next year, that's possible. But what I am saying is short term, you're starting to notice that these guys are realizing, hey, maybe we can't do this as aggressively as we planned. And, you know, like this article from Zero Hedge says, calling the Fed's bluff, they are in fact holding a losing hand. So that's it for me today, guys. Not trying to sugarcoat it, not trying to doom and gloom it, just letting you know what I'm seeing today. Right now, this could be potentially why we're seeing a bit of a bounce. You know, DXY pulling back here. We have the S&P coming up right here, also trying to bounce, not hit this 200 weekly moving average. And yeah, I mean, that's basically the situation that we have right now. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Get subscribed. I'm going to keep you guys updated on everything that we need to be paying attention to. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the content. Slap a like, share this video with someone if you do. And if you guys are looking to trade, I do believe there could be a lot of opportunities coming up, especially if we do break some of these resistances, and I will let you know. So thank you so much again. If you are looking to trade, you want to do it responsibly and profitably, I highly recommend you guys watch my tutorial on BitGet, where we do go over risk management so you guys can understand, you know, basically how to do this without becoming too emotional, because that's a mistake that a lot of us make. I've made mistakes. I've become emotional, definitely in 2017, 2018, you know, just falling in love with a coin or refusing to let go of a failing trade, just adding more to it even though I'm underwater. That's not what you want to do. Make sure you guys check this video popping up right here, right now. I love you guys. You're awesome. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.